There comes a time in a man's life when he wants to do nothing but play mech games. And I'm currently going through that very intensely right now. I've basically been playing a whole bunch of nothing but sci-fi and strategy and mechs, and oh my god, it's so much fun. This particular game here, Mech Engineer, is a prime example of something I'm currently into right now. It's an absolutely frustrating, agonizing experience at points, but also one of the most ridiculously rewarding and interesting experiences at the exact same time. It's really cool and it's totally worth your money, but if you don't like a challenge and you don't like to beat your head senselessly against a wall until you get it right, then this may not be the game for you. This video is going to stand more as kind of like a beginner's guide. I'm not going to explain every single thing in intense detail because there's still a whole bunch of things that I myself don't understand or I haven't figured out yet. So it's only a matter of time. If anything, I might do another video later on with more advanced skills and tips for the game. So I will say this as a disclaimer right now, a minute into the video. If you do not want any help learning this game and you just want a glowing recommendation, this is a recommendation. If you like mech games, if you like roguelikes, if you like management and auto battler type stuff, you're gonna love this, especially if you like to customize your mechs. It's just really, really hard. And the developer himself also wants you to piece the game together like a puzzle. So if you want the 100% authentic experience, don't watch this video. Just take my recommendation. However, if you're someone who values your time and doesn't like to beat your head against a wall, then hopefully this video will help you. At least I'm going to give you some tips that I really wished I had known when I first started playing the game, because it would have saved me a lot of time. So what I'm going to show you in this video is engineering, components, research, hangar, and I'm also going to show you a battle and the aftermaths of a battle as well, to the best of my knowledge. Again, this information may be incomplete, but hopefully I can help you out. Let's start with the basics. We're going to do a reactor. So you first start out on engineering. You're going to go to reactor. You're going to throw that bad boy right there. We're just going to go ahead and skip this. As you can see, I literally started a brand new game. Oh, and if anything, one other thing to go ahead and mention right now, if you click help, there is a manual that explains a lot of the things in the game. Some of the things I'm going to explain to you right now. First and foremost, you're going to have a piston. You want to take that piston, pop that bad boy in there, get an injector, pop that bad boy in there, and then you're going to go to aux. Splattercat Gaming did a good video where he talked with the developer, and the developer explained how to kind of like set up an initial reactor. This has actually worked really well for me. With this stuff, it's going to be good. It's all set in. We're going to see where it says ignite. We're going to pop that bad boy. It's going to turn it on. And this is what you have to do with every single one of your reactors. So now that we've actually set up our reactors, let's talk about the mechs. The mechs themselves. What we're really here for, the big metal daddies. That's right, I said it. So first and foremost, you have stats here that kind of show. We've named our mech the Pizza Man. Let's just go ahead and go over some of these stats first, and then we're gonna actually build the mech. You have passive armor, you have speed, hit points, max outside temperature, and resistances. The two big ones to kind of talk about real quick is max outside temperatures and resistances. So resistances, you have heat, water, and impact. You can adjust those as you research new technologies. Different mechs have different resistances and so on. The max outside temperature. If you're asking yourself right now, wow, does this game actually have different biomes and it takes into account heat and cold for the mechs? Yes, it does. Different environments affect your weapons and mechs differently. Reactors will get hotter and hotter temperatures to the point where they'll overload, overheat, and put your poor pilots in a very bad spot as they are slowly surrounded and devoured by the Horde. You want to make sure that however you're building your mech and whatever you're doing is appropriate and smart. You don't want to send them in to die. On the left side, we have reload, energy, and weight. Energy is the power supply the actual mech has. Reload is how fast it's reloading its weapons. And of course, weight is the amount of weight it has and its weight limits. But let's actually start putting our mech together. So we have a cabin. We're going to pop that in. We're going to go to motors. It looks like this mech has 4 motors. So we're going to go ahead and slot in 4 motors. And then we're going to go here and take a look at what we have. Again, since this is the start, you only have ammo modules, battery modules, evasion modules, and that's it. Eventually, you will get more modules as you research more stuff, but we'll get into that a little bit later. For now, we're just going to do a bunch of ammo modules because there's no reason to change anything else. All right, so let's go to reactors. Let's take one of these bad boys and pop it in. So now it gives us a much better reading of what all we're actually doing. So it shows how much power we're using on the left, and the total amount of power we can use on the right, and of course the same with the weight. So our mech is almost ready. We just need to put on some guns. You can sit here and customize the colors if you'd like. We're gonna do a check mark. There we go. Perfect. All right, so we got our check mark, and he's good to go. He looks great. So weights, obviously, and then over here, you can change the armor of the mech. You can choose what defensive capabilities it has and so on. I would very highly recommend in the beginning you go ahead and add energy shield. Turn it on. Thank me later. But otherwise, you can actually sit here and adjust the various armors of the mech. But with the current weight limits and motor limits we have, we're not going to be able to do that. Something I will mention as well, yes, you do get better motors later on in the game, which increase your weight limits. So even our starter mech here can be upgraded to carry heavier weapons. It can be faster and so on, to the point where even an early game mech still has practical capability later on in the game. Next, and this is something I really wish somebody would have told me in the beginning because I did not know about it. And I know it's right here in my face, but apparently I'm blind as a bat. If you are on a mission and your mech gets damaged, it will maintain that damage. It will not auto repair. The way you repair it is you come back to here, make sure you send your mech back, and then you can repair it. As you can see here, you can repair right here. Makes sense? Very simple. And then the last thing, of course, in this menu, you can literally change where power is going and so on. So yeah, and it shows you literally where the power drain is too. So this mech is done and good and ready to go. So now we're going to do the same thing with all the other mechs. We're pretty much just going to slot in ammo modules. We're going to slot in motors and put in cabins, reactors, and guns. And we're going to make sure to do that for all of our mech boys. Let's go to components. Now here is where you order stuff. Quite simply, where you get new mechs, you can order mechs, new motors, new guns, components, and so on. One thing I would highly, highly, highly recommend, order some components. You're going to need them to be able to upgrade your capital city that you're basically walking on. And we'll talk about that here in a minute. But yeah, go ahead and do that. If there's other things you need to order, it's not a bad idea, especially if you don't like to save scum, to go ahead and get another one of those reactors. You're gonna need it. So we're good on that front. If you want to order some more, you can. Your resources, as you can see, are shown at the top left, and everything costs some manner of resources. I will say, from my experience, the resource production and consumption is pretty fair in this game. It doesn't feel like in the early game you're struggling to have resources. As long as you're doing missions, you've got resources. Moving on to research. Once again, very simple screen where you just research stuff. I would highly recommend that you go straight for a bigger mech. So if you want to go for a bigger mech, go down, and then it's going to be under these trees here. Like this tree specifically adds most of the mechs in the game. All right, so looking at the hangar, you got to locate your base. You pick a spot, let's say here. All right, cool. So we set our city. The red swords are bad. They're basically bosses that are gonna kill you. Do not go near them until you are 100% sure you can take them down, which if it's beginning of the game, you cannot. Now we need to kind of learn more about our pilots. And this is who we have. A whole bunch of different people of various quality and skill. And as you can see, they have 4 major skill sections. You've got reaction, you've got vitality, stress resistance, and CBS test. Reaction is quite simply how quick they move, how quickly they react to the situation, and so on. Vitality is their health. Stress resistance is how they can handle what they're going through in the moment. It gets chaotic fast. They are constantly assailed by hordes. It can be bad. Like, there's environmental hazards and so on. If your person breaks, they will start disobeying orders, and it is a pain in the ass. In your starter missions, if someone has a low stress resistance, just take them and drag them right over there to the hospital. You do not want to take them on a mission. Like this guy here, he's got 0. Nope. You get right on over there, Mark. You're going to sit there for a while. What I would recommend is you take individuals like Bob here, where although Bob has a low CBS score, which is ultimately his control over the mech itself, how good is he at working the mech? Even though it's very low, all his other stats are really high. He's not going to be the best person at moving our mech, but you know what? He's probably going to be a pretty decent mech commander. And as you can see, you have skills here, and you choose which one you want to use. So we're going to get reloading for old Bob there. We're going to put him in the Pizza Man. Let's go ahead and throw Greg in there. Oh no, we're going to have a whole bunch of newbies going into this. It's going to be rough. Let's put Donald in there. Man, this is either going to be really, really rough or really good. But let's do that. And the last thing we want to do is we want to put somebody into training. Make sure to always have somebody in the hospital in training. As you progress to the next day and so on, their stats will go up. Let's take old Joe here, pop him in the training simulator. And it looks like we have our crew and we're ready for our mission. For better or for worse, we may fail, but we can't say we didn't try. The simple way to look at this is you've got various resources you'll get from missions. It'll show you the enemy types. It'll also show you the temperature here and the biome. If you kind of hover over it, that picture there at the top left, that'll be the map you're fighting on. In the beginning, I highly recommend you fight in open areas, as open as you can manage, like this one. So like if I have to choose between this down here, or if I have to choose this location, I'm going to pick this location because it's easier for your starting mechs to deal with it. They will get overwhelmed very quickly, and if your people get overwhelmed, they will stop listening to you and you're going to cry. So you kind of have to sit here and weigh what's worth doing, or maybe it's not worth doing. Maybe I should just wait another day, which I think is what we're going to do. One last thing before we actually start to concern ourselves with that, let's take a look over here at the calendar. As you can see here, there's some information on the calendar, shows you the days. Over here on the right, we can see the condition of the city. We need to basically get this up higher, increase these values. The values on the left, the small numbers, show you kind of like what your current limit cap is. You want to try to get these numbers up. So how do you get these numbers up, you ask? Here is the city, and this is the last hope and salvation of humanity. What should you pick first? This is a wonderful question. If you ask me, upper factory all day, baby. So here's something let's talk about real quick, right? So you see the upper factory. Components need to be ordered. How long does it take, you ask? Well, in the beginning, a long damn time. 7 days. If you want to get it faster, it's not a bad idea to increase your industrial capacity. In this particular case, increasing our upper factories. So gaboosh. There are other more important things as well, like you want to get life systems up and stuff like that. If any of this drops to 0, it's all over. It's been a good run, boys. We're gonna skip real quick to the next day. Yeah, we can do this. See, it's open. There's only one enemy there. The enemy spawns change based on the day. All right, so it looks like we're good to go. We know what we want to do. We're gonna click on the picture here, and then we're gonna slot in our dudes. It's important to remember, whoever you slot here is the leader. If you slot somebody who sucks at stress resistance, you might as well just go ahead and close out of the game and save scum. It is a crapshoot sometimes, and you're about to see why. One quick thing to explain before we get started, I kind of mentioned this before. Soldiers can disobey your orders. You can give them a general direction of where to go. You can call in artillery strikes to support them. But if they break and they disobey, sometimes they'll run into tornadoes. Sometimes they'll run straight into the horde. Let's cross our fingers and hope for the best. All right, so it brings up this particular screen here, and we'll be on a top-down view, and as you can see, I can zoom in and zoom out. So you've got artillery up here. In the beginning, you generate anywhere between 2 and 4 rounds per day, it depends. You can tell your guys to move with this new position. You right click. It's kind of hard to tell like elevation and stuff like that, but pretty much this is elevation. At the bottom right, you can see the mini map here. It's going to show you where supply crates are. Make sure you always get the supply crates. What I recommend is complete the mission first, like beat the enemies, then go get the supply crates. Don't try to get them first. Try to get the mission done as fast as you can. And then you have focus fire. You can literally tell them, I want you to focus fire on this position. It's the last little bit. Enemies spawn indefinitely. Take that for what you will. I personally hate it. I kind of liked it better when they didn't, because it made the game infinitely easier. So it's pretty hard. They just keep coming. They don't stop coming. And they don't stop coming. My dudes are going to fight their way to the objective. If you left click, they'll command and move themselves, so you don't have to. However, if you want to take control of them, you just right click anywhere on the map. At this particular point, they're moving towards the objective, so I don't need to. There's the objective, that giant worm that is about to be the bane of my existence. What we want to do here is we want to call in an artillery strike, put some heavy fire on the aliens over there. We're going to try to keep moving around this big fella here so that we can continue putting damage on him. And don't get in that, because it is a giant laser that will kill your people. This looks like it's not that hard of a mission, and it's not, but it's the first mission. And I wish more missions were like this. Just so smooth and calm, and like the total lack of environmental hazards just coming in and ruining my day and just making everything super awful. But as you can see, like the swarm just keeps coming in, and you just got to keep hoping that your dudes don't break and they continue listening to orders. You're gonna have good missions, but this is definitely one of those games that as soon as something goes wrong, it goes really wrong. It'll be a situation where you know, everything's fine, you're doing really well holding off the enemy hordes, and then all of a sudden a tornado comes in, scoops up one of your guys, everyone panics, everyone dies. We won that. Now we're gonna go slowly take out more hordes, but we're gonna go get the supply crates as well. So the enemies are gonna keep coming until it says progress 100%. So now my guys will leave out through objective B here, and mission accomplished. We actually survived a mission, we took no damage, and we didn't even have to fight that many of the monsters. Just to give you reference, the mission I did on my actual game right before I started making this video, I killed 6,300 of them. That was only 972 of the little bastards. This has been Mech Engineer, and this has been kind of a little bit of a guide, and hopefully this helps you understand what you need to do. Eventually you'll have more mechs and you can do multiple missions per day. You're not limited. Ideally, you want to do it faster than not, because the longer you take, the harder the game gets. I highly recommend it. It's super fun once you figure out what you're doing. Until that point, don't be surprised if you're just banging your head against a wall in complete and utter frustration. This has been CB. Thanks for watching. I'll catch y'all later.